Arrakis. Standing in the sun too long makes you start to die of sunstroke. So, Dune Awakening. I was really excited about this game. I was really excited about this game because it was going to be like another real-time action MMO. And just like every other real-time action MMO that I've ever played, it's run into almost the exact same problems. From a relatively, single player perspective, I ran into a lot of the same problems that I ran into with New World and with Once Human. I just don't feel like this game has any end game. But I'll get to that. More on that later. Dune Awakening. It's a fun game. It's got lots of really good things. The primary gameplay loop, the primarily moment-to-moment gameplay is fun. I think that's actually where the game shines. The actual act of playing the game is fun. Building your base is fun. Avoiding the Sardaukars is fun. Avoiding the worms is fun. Fighting the enemies is fun. There's a lot of good here. There's definitely a lot of good on display. When you start up the game, you'll spawn here in Haga South Basin somewhere, just along this bottom border, and you'll be tasked with going through a whole series of quests that teach you basically how to play the game. It'll teach you how to gather resources, avoid the sun, avoid the worms. It'll teach you how to build a house and build like the basic things you need to survive on Arrakis. And then after that, it kind of tells you that you're on your own, and then forces you to move across this giant gap. The actual progression and the basic kind of track the game has you on as you progress through the game is great. The skill tree is fun, and it has, there's lots of little things you can do with it. You can really build into everything if you want to. You can kind of divide your points up, but your points are limited, so you're going to have to kind of pick and choose what you want to do. What's cool about that is, you can dip your toes into everything. What sucks about it, though, is that a lot of these have quest chains that you can go through, but you can't complete the quest chain unless you commit some or all of your points into the tree. And that gets frustrating because it's like, man, I just want to finish the quest chain, and I want to get the story, and I want to be able to unlock these abilities. Even if I'm not going to use them, I still want to be able to do the quests and unlock the story. It sucks having to respec to play through those quests. I feel like that's something that could be changed. That's annoying. The other downside to this is that it has the New World problem, in my opinion, of every character kind of ends up being the same thing. In New World, you could just sort of build into whatever you wanted to, and I know that game has updated a lot since I played it, but I just remember that being an issue that bothered me. You didn't have a class system. You don't have, your tanks, your range DPS, your melee DPS, and your healers, and all this other stuff. You just have people. And I don't know, it takes away from the gameplay a bit. It takes away from the gameplay. However, for like a single player experience and just like running through the game, it's fun. You can get into good shootouts. The combat is fun and entertaining. The NPCs are cool. The NPCs are actually probably some of the best like MMO NPCs I've seen. The map has lots of points of interest, so there's always lots of things to explore, and I mean, I've dumped 130 hours into this game. Yeah, this game reminds me of games like New World and Once Human in almost every conceivable way. It's a different setting, of course, obviously, but in terms of like, what you're doing moment to moment in the game, in terms of your primary gameplay loop and just kind of how the game unfolds and how the game plays, it's very much the same. And that's fine. I love those kinds of games. I very much enjoy those style of games. But one consistent problem that these games have is that once you kind of have maxed out your character, or you've leveled up, or you've kind of reached the latter half of the game just sort of dries up. It's just sort of like the developers just don't have any game there for you to play. It's like they just ran out of ideas. I don't know what causes that. I'm not sure if that's a development time issue or If that's a probably, like, most likely it's a money issue, right? I mean, like most things, it's probably just a money issue. They just don't want to dump the funds into it. They could make it good, but that costs money. So they, instead they try to make it look good, polish a turd, as they say. I would argue Dune Awakening is much better than just a turd, but it does have a problem where Endgame just sort of is non-existent. And a lot of that has to do with probably just lack of interest. I just don't really feel like engaging in the Endgame content, because the Endgame content is basically politics. And I can't really express to you how much I don't give a shit about politics. I mean, hell, I get enough politics in my real life. I don't want it in my video games, Like, leave that out. Let me play my games. Let me have my peace. That being said, politics is kind of the ultimate outcome of every MMO in some form or fashion. Like, once you get to for anybody that played World of Warcraft back in the early days, back when DKP was still a thing, if anybody has any idea what that is, if you know what DKP is, then you know what I'm talking about. I've put about 130, 140 hours into this game, and it's been fun. It's been a blast, and I still haven't seen everything. I still haven't found quite everything. I've just kind of reached this point where I don't really care to. There's not really a reason to. Outside of Haga Basin, there really isn't much in the game world. There's the deep desert, which exists, and that's kind of where there's some PvE, PvP, but the deep desert's very empty. It's just largely big empty desert, and there's just not really anything to do in it. It's where the greatest resources and all the endgame stuff is, but it's also probably the least interesting part of the game. Right now, what the game is really struggling with in endgame is eventually one side starts to win out in both the war and the political war. And once they do, the losing side stops playing the game. And you really can't blame them when you start to lose on the military front and you start to lose on the political front. Well, I'll just go play a game that I can feel good playing instead of playing a game where I'm a loser. If I want to play a game where I'm a loser, I'll just live real life. The game has a lot of potential, and there's a lot of fun to be had playing up to endgame. But it has the problem, again, it has that same problem that New World and Once Human had, where it's just once you get to endgame, there's nothing to do. There's no reason to grind to the end. There's nothing to show for it. There's a lot of fun to be had in Dune Awakening, leveling up to endgame, though. The base building is fun. The resource gathering is really cool. I like how the resource gathering has you draw little lines to try to... You can just gather the resources by just lasering it, but that's inefficient. You don't get many resources by doing that. The best way to get the resources is to scan the rock and then trace the little line that appears, and then that's how you'll break it immediately and you'll get a chunk of resources. It's really fun. It's actually a really cool mechanic for gathering resources. Much better than just plinking away with a mining pick. Combat is fast and fun, has a rhythm to it. It's very attack, dodge, block, parry. It's got a good system, and it works well, especially for PvE. For PvP, it has this tendency to be very stun-locky, and it's just whoever CCs the best wins. The shield system is cool. They avoided doing a Halo shield system in favor of doing something, more like what the Dune universe describes. It has a tolerance up to a certain point, at which point it basically just ignores all damage until that tolerance is broken. On paper, it sounds the same, but in function, in practice, it really is very different. Only heavy attacks can get through the shield, and only certain types of weaponry can pass through it. It's pretty cool. I really enjoy how NPCs fight each other in this game. That's actually something that's really fun. You'll come across fights just happening in the world all the time, and I really enjoy that. I think that's fun. It makes the world feel alive. Inventory management is pretty basic, pretty traditional to what we've seen in past games. One thing that I do think is a certain opportunity for improvement is you have a limited number of inventory slots, but you also have a limited amount of weight capacity that you can carry. And neither of these at any point in the game are upgradable. You can't build or craft a backpack or anything that gives you more slots or more weight capacity. You're just stuck with what you start at. And there are vehicles in the game that you can store items in and transport them that way, sure, but it would be nice to be able to craft some kind of a backpack or some kind of a carrying device that would allow you to carry more resources on your person without having to resort to a vehicle. I like too how minerals aren't super difficult to find at any point in the game. Like, there's never any minerals that are just impossible to find or are just unreasonably rare. Once you get to the level where you can fight your way to those resources, you can find those resources. You might have to, gather a lot of them, which is a different issue, but I'm okay with that. I hate it when I'm looking for high-level resources and I can just never find them. I'm out there, I'm risking my ass, I'm getting my ass handed to me, I'm sweating, I'm dying, and I can't even find what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? It's at least better when I can at least get some of it. You know what I mean? So I do feel like they did a pretty good job with that, with resource distribution and acquisition. The caveat to that is that I do feel like some things just cost too much. Especially as you get towards Endgame, it feels like the devs are kind of pumping the brakes on you. It's like they're trying to get you to slow down because they don't have any more game ready for you. I really got that feeling as I reached the end of the game, as I reached the end of my experience with the game. It just felt like they knew there was nothing there and they were trying to keep me from getting there. Earlier in the video, I talked about how you begin the game in South Haga Basin and are given a list of things to do as a tutorial that teaches you the basics of the game. Another thing it'll do is it'll teach you how to build a sand bike, which is your first vehicle and your first mode of transportation. You can use the sand bike to get across the gap and use it to avoid the worm. After that, the world kind of opens up quite a bit until eventually you'll build an ornithopter. Once you've built the ornithopter, then the world opens up even more. Having an ornithopter just by itself is huge because it allows you to fly across the map. You no longer have to worry about the worm or anything else for that matter. What is interesting though is it also allows you to leave the first map and explore the wider world. Once you fly to the edge of the map, then it will take you to this overworld map. From here, you can see all of the other places you can go, including the deep desert where most of the end game takes place. All of these other little locations are just sort of little places you visit during the quest chain. And so this is the deep desert. Welcome to it. The deep desert is massive and is divided into these giant grid spaces like A7, A6. You have to rediscover the deep desert every week to kind of see what is there. It would be more interesting, I suppose, if it wasn't just a massive empty desert. There's just not anything here. The big selling point or the big appeal of this is that, oh, it resets every week and you can have a new experience every week. Well, it's a big empty desert every week. That doesn't change. I mean, yeah, you've moved the rocks around, but you still have a desert. It's not enough. It doesn't qualify as endgame content. This is a common trend I see in a lot of MMOs and a lot of games, especially recently in the last 15 years, is games try to fall back on player interactions to carry the game. And it doesn't work. Player interactions are a great way to enhance the game and make the game more interesting and more fun, but you have to have a game there. A bunch of guys can have fun throwing rocks in a creek. That doesn't make it a good game. It just means that the guys can have fun throwing rocks in the creek. All right? A good game is fun on its face, and it's even more fun with your friends. That's how it should work. For some reason, developers don't understand that. It's crazy to me. Anyways, out here in the deep desert, it is exactly what you would expect. It's worms, it's rocks, there's spice out here, there's high value resources out here, but other than that, that's the only reason you come here. Everything else about this place sucks. I don't understand why this would be your end game and nothing besides this and politics. You've got empty desert full of worms and politics. That's what you've got for endgame. And laggy, frustrating PvP that's full of CC. On top of that, every time we cross into a new zone, every time we cross into a grid line, we run the risk of getting disconnected from the game and having our glider fly off into the distance without us. If that happens, there is nothing that can be done to recover it. If you reach out to support, they'll tell you, too bad, we're working on it. That's a shitty response. That's a shitty experience. You've spent 100 hours putting together your ornithopter and you've just lost it to the sands of the desert because the game disconnected you. Because of a faulty server system that you have no control over. That's what you have to look forward to at the end game of this, and I can't recommend it to anyone. It's not worth your time. Play a different game. Lots of potential. Lots of cool mechanics, lots of cool ideas, lots of things that are done well. I really like the vehicle building and repairing. The way you can actually like take the vehicles apart piece by piece and then put them back together is actually really super cool. It also means that you can repair pieces or replace pieces if they break down. And so it's just a very cool system that works really well. It sucks because there's not a larger game to use it in. Once you've completed the main quest chain and once you've kind of done everything there is to do as far as that goes, there's nothing else to kind of keep you going. There's sort of this cliffhanger at the end of the quest chain that implies there's more to come, but there's no indication as to when we can expect that, and there's no idea, there's no timeline for how long that might take. How long do I have to sit around playing the game, kind of twiddling my thumbs before I can do something meaningful again? Well, I guess that's about all the time I've got for this one. So, guys, let me know in the comments what you thought. Let me know what you guys think. Did you guys like Dune Awakening? Is this a game that you enjoy? Is it fun? Why is it fun? What do you like about it? What do you don't like about it? Tell me in the comments. Come see me on stream sometime. Thank you all so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Peace.